became the first Mexican heavyweight world champion in the history of sport of boxing by dropping Anthony Joshua 4 times and ultimately stopping him in the 7th round. Okay, and there were people calling for Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder for undisputed. And Matchroom CEO and promoter Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, he started to tell everybody that, well, Andy Ruiz, he can't go into an undisputed match with Deontay Wilder because he's contractually obligated to fulfill a rematch with Anthony Joshua, okay? He was dropped 4 times and stopped in the 7th round. And nobody was claiming that they didn't want to see the rematch, okay? In hopes.
Let me stop right there. By popular demand, this was recommended. I had to counterpunch it because the more I hear things that I need to counter, it has to be countered. Now, Blue Blood said, hey, nobody questioned the rematch and not wanting to see the rematch. No, nobody did question that. But I can tell you this. How many people questioned the legitimacy of the 3rd fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury after seeing what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder? Counterpunch. Okay. Nobody really wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see it because I needed an explanation, but I mean, we didn't even get one because Wilder didn't say anything, you know? So that's what I wanted. But then all the accusations started in the midst of all that, right after that. It wasn't even like, maybe 2 weeks went by and people, you know, I guess got tired of praising, you know, the white guy and started looking for other reasons why he won and all that shit. And we know what happened with that. Well, we know what was said. Let's put it that way. But anyway, let's continue.
Seeing the undisputed match with Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder. So, with that said, now Deontay Wilder gets dropped twice and stopped in the 7th round. Same situation scenario, and now everybody wants to say they don't want to see a trilogy match because Deontay Wilder was dominated in the fight. Well, he was dropped twice in the fight and stopped in the 7th round. Anthony Joshua was dropped 4 times and stopped in the 7th round.
Okay. I see the comparison that Blue is trying to make. It's a clever comparison, you know, because he's saying like, hey, why is everybody saying that they don't want to see Wilder Fury 3 again? Because, again, these guys have already fought twice. The first one was a draw. The second one was the tiebreaker. The first one was a draw, and a lot of people, you know, Wilder got the knockdowns, the 2 knockdowns in the first fight. And the second fight, Fury got the 2 knockdowns. However, was there any knockdowns for Wilder? Was there any resistance for Wilder? Wilder landed some good right hands, but it had no power on him. The effects of the punches weren't the same. Okay, so there was nothing like comparable in resistance wise. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. He wants to amplify the fact that Joshua went down 4 times. Yeah, he did. He went down 4 times. He won't let you forget it. He went down 4 times. Twice as many as Deontay Wilder. He is absolutely, positively correct. Good counterpunch, Blue. However, did Wilder put Tyson Fury down in the second fight? No. So there was no back and forth. Now, did Anthony Joshua put Andy Ruiz down? Oh yeah, he started the shit. I think Anthony Joshua was the tool of his own destruction. When he caught him with that, when he clipped him with that right uppercut, and because he didn't hit it flush, because, you know, Andy didn't really have a neck back then. So when he clipped him, and then he caught him with the left hook, perfect, right on the button, dropped Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz was put on the seat of his pants, the first one ever to do that in history. Okay, so he cracked that shell once he dropped Andy Ruiz. It was Andy Ruiz that got up and showed resistance back, okay, and kept showing resistance, okay. And it wasn't like Anthony Joshua didn't have any other moments in that fight. Yes, they traded a lot of shots, but you can clearly see Joshua was hurt. That shit took everything out of him damn near. The punch from the gods. No, it was a perfectly placed punch. And it caught him in the temple area. A lot of people say it was behind the head or whatever. I think it was a punch that landed right here. That's what I could see. A lot of people think it happened here. In fact, I think Tyson Fury actually landed the punch behind Wilder's head. You know, but anyway, that's my opinion. There was an exciting third round, one of the best rounds. Go look it up. Third round, Joshua Ruiz won. Yes, that's a historical round in the history books. There was no historical round resistance-wise with Wilder versus Fury in the second fight. So therefore, nobody wanted to see that because we've already seen that twice already. How many fucking times you want to see that? Because see, this is what'll happen. If Fury goes in there and does the same shit to Wilder, he's finished. And people will be so aggravated and disgusted because we went through a fucking pandemic, no fight. They could have done it last year. Then we damn near go through a whole nother year without a fight. And then Tyson Fury does the same shit. And then Wilder will be looked at as a fool because he made 1,000 excuses on why he lost. And he shows you that maybe mentally he is fucking broken. That's why people don't want to see that, because people wonder like, okay, what next for Fury? He's done, in a lot of people's eyes, Tyson Fury already beat Wilder twice. So if in a lot of people's eyes, why do you think in them same people's eyes they don't want to see a third fight? Go figure. You beat him first, you were a foreigner in a foreign land, and therefore you got a draw. Luckily you got a draw because you could have got robbed. Then you go and make the trainer stop the fight after the referee already said he was going to stop the fight. So it was a lose-lose for Wilder anyway. Okay? But this is all goes to the point of knowing that people don't know when they lost. Wilder would receive so many stripes if he was the humble guy and said, you know what, I lost. Even I don't care how he fucking felt. He can't prove any of that shit unless he comes like Dante's Boxing Nation and just throws a whole pile of evidence on there and like this, that. And, you know, until that happens, it's something that you can't prove. It's something that he admitted subliminally. He admitted we have no proof. So why are we going to even say it? I know what happened in there, but we had no proof. Okay? So let's continue.
Both ended on their feet in the corner with a referee waving it off. So nobody was calling for.
Now, he made a good point. Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV. He did make a good point. They did same round, 7th round. That's comparable. And they both ended the fight on their feet. That happened. One, the ref ruled it off, waved it off for Joshua. That happened in June of 2019. And the trainer, Mark Breland, called the fight off. But Kenny Bayless was going to call it off too. So again, like I just mentioned, guys, it was a lose-lose. But shout out to Blue for that comparison.
The magnitude of Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz not to take place so Andy Ruiz could fight Deontay Wilder for undisputed when they are both fellow countrymen. They're both from the States, just like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury are from the UK. Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder are from the United States. So why wasn't everybody calling for Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder for undisputed in the States?
Okay, good comparison. Another good comparison. And ending with a counter. Ruiz and Deontay Wilder are both from the States. That's true. They were both born here in the US of A. However, Andy Ruiz is somewhat like a more favored fighter from Mexico, since he was on the Mexican Olympics, for one. And for two, when he beat Anthony Joshua, he made history by being the first Mexican by Mexican descent, not by American descent. You see what I'm saying? Counterpunch. So that's the difference between them two. All right. Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder. Also, to answer his question on what about the undisputed fight? Again, that fight was in question. And all of a sudden, Deontay Wilder was interested in Undisputed because Anthony Joshua didn't have that belt. Man, he wanted to fight Andy Ruiz. That is true. Only problem, too soon, too early, because Deontay Wilder had supposedly already had his fights already lined up for him. So he says. So let's continue.
History was made, and on top of it, it was easier to make because Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz Jr. are both with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, with founder and advisor Al Haymon. So it was an easy fight to make. Whereas with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, you have two promoters, and Queensberry Promotions CEO and promoter, legendary promoter in the UK, Frank Warren, who don't get along with Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn. And then you have to bring BT Sports and Sky Sports together. It's like bringing Showtime and HBO together. So there was a lot more hurdles to deal with that than it was with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz. But the public and the mainstream quote-unquote media didn't call for Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder as they did currently with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
To answer that and to end with the final counter, the reason why, because it wasn't a sought-after fight like the rematch between Anthony Joshua and Ruiz. Okay? Because most, like the masses, people believe something was wrong with Anthony Joshua, and that was not Anthony Joshua in there. And many people said that. It was rumors of concussion. He knew. He reported it, just like I did. You know, he got a concussion in sparring. He had a panic attack like other fighters tried to say he had. He had stage fright. He had anxiety. He had this, he had that. A lot of people said that. So the whole thing was, could Andy Ruiz do it again? That was the $1 million question. That was the reason why people wanted to see that fight. And a lot of people thought that Anthony Joshua wasn't even going to win the second fight. It was a no-go. The hand speed of Andy Ruiz was going to just do the same thing again, walk right through Anthony Joshua. The big bulging muscles and all that was a farce. He was a hype job. He's going to get beat again. But for the people that thought Anthony Joshua was going to win, we still wanted to see the fight. That's why. Okay? And to answer the question also, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury is a better fight than that fight would be anyway. From a third fight of him and Tyson Fury and Wilder. Why? Because for one, Anthony Joshua never fought Tyson Fury, but when they had a sparring war that was rumored historic. Okay, they're both from the UK, sure. One's a two-time heavyweight champion. The other one's a two-time heavyweight champion. One with one loss, one with one draw, coming from the same country, right? Fighting for number one and number two. Why not? Deontay Wilder got beat and he got quiet. He got mute. Okay, and they've already done that twice. These guys haven't fought any. Not fought once. That's why, Blue. Okay, so don't be butthurt over the fact that these guys are giving more shine than your fighter than the third fight. Deontay Wilder deserves his third fight, yes. Is it the most sought after fight? No. I'm sorry. Wilder's just not that popular, especially losing, and the way he took his loss made people look at him sideways. So that answers your question. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this particular counterpunch from Blue Blood Sports TV. Once again, of course, please subscribe, and you guys can counterpunch. Peace.